Daniela here, and today I wanted to talk about technique. So it's come to my attention that people seem to know that technique's important. Just had somebody come up to me recently and say, I think technique is really important, but she still hasn't taken a technique class. And so is technique something like spinach? It's good for you, but you'd rather go have cake instead? I don't know. Maybe technique is one of those things that people don't know really what they're going to get, or they're worried that if they do take a technique class, it's going to so change their dance that it's going to take something away, as opposed to adding something into their life, into their dance that they can take responsibility for. I don't know. So as I talk about technique for this blog, I thought I would look it up. So I looked up the definition of technique to kind of help me out, and I came up with this. A way of carrying out a particular task, especially the execution or performance of an artistic work or scientific procedure. The skill or ability in a particular field, a skillful or efficient way of doing or achieving something. So I really liked that last definition, and that's the direction I'm going to head in with this blog. So in talking about technique, I was thinking about my mother, who is a fine artist. She is a gorgeous painter. She does still lifes and portraits, and she does them in the style of the old masters. And so what makes the old masters really amazing is their attention to light, how they capture light, and how they make skin tones almost luminescent, almost real life, actually. So I brought in one of my mother's paintings. This is one of my favorite ones that she has done, and this is a reproduction from a Viennese artist called Friedrich Von Amerling. Did I get that right? Yeah. And this is Princess Maria von Liechtenstein. And so what I'm looking at here specifically is how the light captures her skin and tells a story all on its own. So this beautiful little princess looks very happy and very fed, and we all know that look, right? That look on the baby where they're so happy. Anyway, so technique. So the technique is how you apply the paint to the canvas, how you use the colors to capture that luminescence. And it all really has to do, again, with the canvas, what you do to the canvas, and then what you do with the paints in order to create this beautiful luminescence. I also was thinking about technique in terms of ballet technique. So ballet dancers train in a certain technique, and the technique is in order for them to appear weightless or ethereal, fairy-like. Also, the technique was created to dance in front of kings, so to be very frontal, which meant that you would never turn your back on the king. So you had to have everything really flat. So this technique was created, and then call it ballet technique. So oftentimes people think, well, if they're a ballet dancer, they can probably do modern dance or any other dance form. And on some level, that's true. However, contemporary dance or modern technique is derived off the idea of the opposite of ballet, about being weighted and about being grounded, going to the floor. Going to the floor was never something you would have done as a ballerina. And in modern dance, it's where we love to be, so to speak. But this idea is that you have to cross-train in order to be a dancer of today, I would say. And cross-training really helps your technique. So now you've got more skill sets inside your body in order to be able to execute choreographies as a ballerina and choreographies as a contemporary dancer. So what else do I want to talk about in terms of technique? Well, how does this apply to tango? I know you're thinking this, right? Well, I came up with my own definition of technique, and it goes something like this, which is it is about working towards finding the structures in your own body that are going to help you to execute movement to help you find your dance. So I'll repeat it. So working towards finding the structures in your own body that will help you to execute movement to help you find your dance. So if I'm disorganized in my body, it is more difficult to execute movement, right? So we know this. The first time you put on high heels and you're asked to walk backwards, well, first of all, putting on high heels creates a whole new system of organization in the body in order to be able to stand in the heels, let alone walk in the heels. That, especially if you've never done it before, let alone walking backwards, is a whole new organization inside the body in order to make that function. So sometimes I think technique is really important, because if you don't know how to organize your body, it could lead to injury. Now, that's not to say you never take a technique class, you're not going to have injury, or vice versa, you take too much technique, lead to injury. I mean, I don't think it works both ways, but I do think that if you know more about your body and you know how to organize the structures in your body to be able to execute things more efficiently, you're less likely to become injured over time. So this is another plug for taking a technique class. The other things that are really nice about technique is that if you take the time to really question your movement, so in terms of tango, what really happens when I walk? What really happens when I walk barefoot? What really happens when I walk in heels? What happens when I walk forward, backwards, all these things? What happens in a pivot? That you really take the time to organize your body and to figure out the most effective way to execute movement. Then you know how to do it in your own body. And then you bring that to the table the minute you get into the tango couple. So, consider your technique. I think this is an important thing. And go to a technique class. Question the movement you're doing. Question your body. Question how to make it work for you. I think we can learn more about our bodies and execute tango movement efficiently and without pain and with less injuries. So that's what I have to say about technique. Hope to see you in a technique class soon, because you know I love teaching technique. And happy January. Take care. Bye.